Are we here?
We are here. We are here. Good evening and welcome to our Friday night special edition of Journeys with Judy. We are in Bridgewater, New Jersey. We have traveled far to come interview Peter Jarvis. Now, I have to tell you, I have heard about Peter Jarvis for about 3 years, and we were formally introduced last year at the Annapolis Illuminate.
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
I was
Yes.
over at
Yes. Yes.
your tables with Leslie, and she introduced us. And it's funny because I've always attributed you and given you the label of you were the one that turned Lloyd and Leslie into crystal junkies. You were the one that started their journey on all of this. And with where they are and their crystal shop now, they have really embraced what you taught them. That it is, they love the crystals and they love them and they care for them until they are passed on to who they need to go to. And when I interviewed Leslie, the biggest thing that I said is that love that they infuse into their crystals and the love that they feel for them is what's going to help make them successful.
Absolutely.
And that is what they learned from you.
Absolutely.
So we are here with crystal guru Peter Jarvis.
Well, thank you so much.
And remember, if you have any questions for him, please feel free to type them in the comments section. And Jen, if we can get her grounded from all the crystals in the room, she will ask them for you. I'm actually holding on to a grounding rod because the energy in here is amazing. And I want to stay focused. So Peter, thank you for having us here.
Well, thank you for having me here. Well, this is me. This is my house.
Yes,
right
this
here.
is your house.
I'll
Do
try
you
not
need a
to
grounding rod too?
I'll try not to be nervous, but we have been sitting here talking for a while and playing with crystals, so it's
Yes, we have.
I thought we were on TV already. I didn't realize it hadn't been turned on.
I told Peter I had to keep reminding myself, don't ask the questions now, don't ask the questions now. We're saving it for the show. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Nice and simple.
This is fun. Okay, I guess I won't ramble on. I'm going to let you ask me questions, and then when I feel it's time to ramble on, I'll ramble on. Because I can certainly get carried away sometimes.
I'll rein you back in if we have to.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to start nice and easy. Where were you born and raised?
Right here.
Right here?
Right here.
In this house?
I was born in Somerville at the hospital, but I was raised in this house. This is the house that I grew up in. Yeah, this is the house where I grew up in. This is I spent my youth, and I was in. After high school, I went into the Navy. It was Vietnam. I went into the service, so I got out. I started going to school again. I started. Wow, this is part of interesting. I started working at Cary Clinic, which is a local psychiatric institute, and it was pretty eye-opening, and it was interesting, you know. And that was truly it was truly working with energy at that time, but I didn't know that. Right. You know, and I was riding a motorcycle back then. I would ride to Carrier Clinic in the middle of the winter on a little Honda. It's crazy stuff. But then, what happened next?
Well, don't jump too far ahead. Do you have any siblings? We're gonna get real basic foundation right now.
Okay, yeah, everybody in my family is gone. My sister passed in 2011.
Okay, so you had a
sister.
sister.
She was a younger sister, and before that, I had when I was 3 years old, my mom had another Cynthia, was a baby. She made it for, I think, 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Back then it was in the 50s, early 50s, and she was what they call a blue baby, which is a heart defect that now I think they can even take care in the womb. You know, with the technology. You didn't have the technology back then.
Right.
So there was, but I was young, so I don't really understand what really is going on. I know we went different places, but, so those are my siblings that are both gone now. Mom and Dad are also both gone.
Okay. How would you best describe your childhood?
I don't know. I mean, I was blessed to, you know, grow up. I grew up here. The road out front was a gravel road. There's a lake down, you know, a quarter mile away, Sunset Lake. And when I grew up, I was either had a fishing pole in my hands or a gun in my hands. Was either in the woods hunting or was down at the lake fishing or swimming. In the wintertime, ice skating. So it was a very, you know, it was just a very open, you know, one with what's going on. Yeah. But also at the same time, I was also got into. You know, I was a young kid smoking, you know, smoking at 11, drinking at 13. I mean, I was a bad kid, you know, when I was, well, I made it through I made it through high school, joined the Navy right after,
Mm-hmm.
and I did my 4 years and got out. And I got out, 3 months early to go to school because I should have got out in November or October, and I got out in in August to start school. And at that time I thought that I really wanted to give back. I wanted to do a psychology, sociology major, and I wanted to work with people. I was kind of altruistic then, I guess. Also, I ended up working at Carrier Clinic, and which was okay. That brings some energy. There was a woman who lived down the street when I was growing up, and she would walk by the bus stop, and she had this gorgeous flowing gray hair, and her name, I can't remember her name now. She was a friend of my grandmother's, but she was one of the first people who had a breakdown and went to Carrier Clinic, and was one of the first people who ever came out.
Okay.
Because it was in the, I guess it was in the 60s when the pharmacology was starting to happen. They were finding, medication to ease the demons.
Okay.
So she was, she became out, and she was part of the neighborhood again. But when I worked at the at Carrier Clinic, I worked on it was called Crazy Eddie's. It was a lockdown, and I just felt I was able to communicate with people. I didn't know why, but it just people. I thought it was because my name was Peter, and back then everybody who was going off on was going out there was either Mary or Jesus, or everybody when they left their sanity, they went to something that must have been kind of metaphysical to them, so they went with characters from the religion.
Okay.
I think that's how I reckon. But in any event, one day the woman was in Crazy Eddie. She was admitted. She had a breakdown, and it was kind of freaking me out because I knew her, and I knew that she had gone through this before. And I always worked. I was the guy in a white coat,
Mm-hmm.
and always worked the afternoon shift. So I found out when we checked in we used to sit around. Everybody talks about what happened before, what's going to happen in this shift. And when I found out that she was in there, I got that kind of what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? I know this person.
Right.
To me at the time it was a little different,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll never forget. It was like a full moon, so everybody was really on edge, or kind of up there gravitating.
Mm-hmm.
And because she was new and she was on this ward, you had to check on her every 15 minutes. There was the patient protocol was to check on somebody until they found out, until they got medicated or leveled off. And I was standing outside her door, and she called to me. She said, "Peter, come in." Oh, what is that all about?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, she did get out, but it was right now. I just realized that was, it was a connection that was made, not on this plane.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize it.
Right.
It took me a while to realize what was going on.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna stay with some basic stuff here, so people can get to know you on a different level.
Okay.
Okay.
We don't want to talk about the
We will.
the UFOs that came around here.
We can get to that.
Okay.
We can get to that. What did you find challenging in your life as a kid? You said you started smoking and drinking
People.
young. Just people in general.
Yeah, authority,
Yeah.
especially authority. Yeah.
You raged against authority.
Yeah, I did.
You didn't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you relate?
So you acted out, huh?
Yeah,
No, I was a pretty good kid.
okay.
But I'm thinking of Sally. Sally just told me the other day, "Don't tell me what to do. Ask me nicely and I'll do it, but don't
Right,
tell me."
right, exactly.
So
I
it made me
can
think
relate
of
to
Sally.
that. I can relate to
So
that.
that's what you struggled with?
That's what I struggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would, of course, flow through young adulthood.
Yes.
How did you do in the military? All they do is tell you what to do.
Yeah. I didn't do well
You
with
didn't
that.
do well with that.
I didn't do well with that.
So you go to school where people tell you more what to do.
Right. And I went to school in the military, which was good. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I got an education, and I didn't do anything with it though. I think I went to school for a year for electronics and aviation electronics. And when I got out into the fleet, that particular job rater was a new rate that was filled up.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a helicopter mechanic and an LSA landing signal enlisted.
Oh,
So I worked on the flight deck for for the next 3 years
okay.
in the helicopter squadron. That's yeah.
So what do you find challenging now?
I guess the most challenging thing that I have is myself.
Okay.
I mean, I've been around for a while.
Mhm.
You know, I'm going to be 71 in October.
Oh, wow.
So it's been.
I would have never guessed.
Well, thank you. It's the crystals.
They do good.
They do real good. And it's something that okay. I've been in recovery. When I was I was an addict when I was in the service,
Okay.
and when I got out of the service, and I got I got clean 32 years ago in January. So I'm probably clean as longer than you've been alive.
Oh, you're very kind. Not quite.
Okay. Okay. And you know, okay, so that was a challenge when he asked me what was my challenge, and I said myself, it probably was because, you know, the greatest healer is the healer within, but at the same time, the greatest demon can be the demon within, if that makes any sense.
That does make a lot of sense.
So what you know, when I first got into that, into the program, I went to a 12-step program, I went to a rehab, I did all that stuff. And when I first got in there, I started, you know, going to meetings and you know, really hanging on to it. And I consider my recovery, my period of recovery is my boot camp. There again, back to the military.
Mm-hmm.
My boot camp to spirituality.
Okay.
And I found out a lot of stuff about myself, and I found out, you know, how to you know, be in my shoes without having to hide from anything, without trying to go away. So at the time I got clean, I was well, I can't even say that. I had been married. I had I had a child, and I got was divorced, changed that whole thing, and it probably had a lot to do with the you know, the addiction that I was running with. And where did that go? And during the time when after I got divorced, I kind of was underground for a period of time, where I didn't really have a job that I checked in. I did stuff that was you know, off the books, whatever. You know, I worked in a flea market. I did stupid stuff, and when I got clean, I ended up going to work because I was at that, by this time I was at the Jersey Shore, living in Lavalette. I started working with buddies in a boat business. So for the next I don't know, for the next probably 15 or 20 years, I was in the boat business. You know, selling boats, doing boat shows, managing a boat store, all that kind of stuff. And you know, I guess the way I can relate to it is that I look back onto it, and I think it was more like a same thing, like a car salesman, like a car business, because it's a commodity, and the goal of the dealer is to get the money out of the person's pocket and put it into theirs. So it's very money orientated.
Right.
You know, and I at the time, I thought that the people that I was working with, the customer, didn't realize how lucky they were, because I truly had I was working more from on a more ethical manner. I was trying to
Be more heart-centered?
Be more heart-centered, even
There
though I
you
didn't
go.
know it. I didn't know it at the time. So, and it worked out. You know, I think everything worked for me fine, and I met somebody who became very close to me. He was he had another boat store when I was, and he was also in a program. So when we were doing a circuit, we would just have like a mini meeting together. And then when the store that I was at, it's closed down. I ended up working with Billy, and it was really good because we were both in recovery, and we were, you know, just we had a lot of fun. We went to a lot of places, and we lived a spiritual lifestyle in a business that wasn't really spiritual. So it was kind of different, but it was kind of fun.
Now, at this point, did you realize you were living the spiritual life?
Yeah, because that's why because of the program, you know, that,
Okay.
and that's what I really believe. That's why that's why I was an addict. You know, for every adversity, there's an equal to or greater than benefit, and my benefit was that I found spirituality.
Okay.
You know, yeah, I know. I always knew I knew that it wasn't a guy sitting in a chair on the throne. It was It was a part of me. You know, that's where and it was. I couldn't explain that.
Okay.
So the late 80s, I got clean in the late 80s. In the early 90s, I opened up a business with a friend of mine down on the Jersey Shore, and it was an antique business because we were both of us had a liking for the antiques, and it was called Lighthouse Antiques, and it was in Ortley Beach on the Strip, and it was we did lighthouse replicas from little ones to big ones and in nautical antiques. And it seemed to be going pretty good. You know, there was some things I found out about my partner that didn't work out, but the business certainly worked out. And then my mom got sick. My ex-wife, well, it was about this time of the year, I think. She was going to go take my mom out Christmas shopping, and she came up here to this house, and she said my mom was whacked. She said, and I had been the whole time I was at with the antique business. My dad passed during the time, so I would come home on my time off and spend the weekend, or I think it was Sunday and Monday with mom, and take care of chores around here. And I was busy. I thought everything was good while we were together, but then I guess she was, it wasn't good, and she was trying to hide it from me. And then Sharon said that you better come up here. Your mom is, she's out of it. So I came up here, and I realized that it was, she was full onslaught with Alzheimer's. She had left the building. So it was, when my dad got sick, I didn't even tell you about that, but I made a promise to my dad that he would come home when we took him to the hospital. He was never going to have to go somewhere else.
Right.
And he was 6 months, and I stayed with him. And I said the same thing to mom, and I realized that that's it. I'm a full-time caretaker now, 24/7, taking care of a lady who's in dementia. What do I know about this?
Right.
So I think that part of my life was for a little over 2 years, I guess, and it was a very humbling experience, and it was I guess it was anchoring my spirituality a little bit more.
Okay.
And during that time, my son ended up moving across the brook with his wife and the 2 granddaughters, and he kind of became my rock. Because he was close by, and I was 24/7. I was here all the time.
Right.
So we'd come over, and I would be able to, to share stuff with him, and he would, give me some. We reversed the roles a little bit. So when my mom passed, I felt it was the right thing to do. I closed up the store and closed up the house and everything else. Well, before I came to take care of her, and I felt it would be the right thing to do to be close to family, just to stay up here. So. That's what I did. I stayed here. And
how long ago was that?
She passed in 2007.
Okay.
So that wasn't, it was a little bit, 11 years ago.
Okay.
And during that time, there was some, my sister was in Florida, and I think when I first got clean, my sister had she ended up with the disease got her, the disease of addiction. And things got kind of crazy down there. I went down to try to help, I thought that I was like 5 years clean, and I thought that I could recover her. Right. And I soon found out that I was only responsible for my own recovery. So when mom was going through her thing, and my sister was down she was going through her thing, and I was trying to keep that away, that knowledge away from mom. If she ever had whenever she was lucid, we wouldn't talk about. I wouldn't talk about what was really going on. So it was crazy. It was a very crazy time.
Very difficult.
Huh?
A very difficult time for you.
Very difficult time, yeah.
Now, it's interesting. You said that you had a problem with authority, and you think, is that what caused your addiction? Is that what were you running from?
It's you're asking a lot there.
Well, it's an interview.
Oh, that's. And at this time, at this time, I can say I was running from myself.
Okay.
I think that I knew that something was going on inside me, but I was kind of afraid to know what it was.
All right.
And it's.
I think there's a lot of addiction issues out there that are caused exactly by that.
Yeah, I found that to be quite true too in my journey. Yeah.
Now, can I ask, do you know what caused your sister's addiction? Did you all ever speak of that? Did she ever understand?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
You know, at the time she was my little sister, and I thought, oh, I could, you know, my goal was to try to fix her,
Fix her. Mhm.
which I couldn't. I mean, you know, when we were prior to that, we had youth together. That was part of the thing you did at the holidays.
Right.
You know, and then that got really bizarre. But she went down pretty hard, and it was. She was she was using her mother, and then she was using me. She was, you know, the drugs were, you know, her motivation was to keep using, you know, and so and we all do it for addicts, you know, a professional manipulator, they can
Absolutely.
move you around. But because I was a recovery, I knew what she was doing. But I ended up angry with her.
Okay.
Because at the I didn't, you know, I was tasked with by my mom to set up a trust for her, because it was known that if she had anything at all, that she would shoot it up. It would just go away. So I guess my being a trustee was not really a trustee, but a valve. I would, you know, to try to make things flow with the kids, so the kids and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, ended up it ended up after Mom passed that she you know, I don't want to talk about her because
Okay.
it was
That's fine.
it was pretty crazy, but
That's fine. We don't have to.
yeah.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay.
We're good. So let's talk about jobs. You were young. You've mentioned a few jobs that you've had along the line. You had your successful antique shop
Right,
business.
little shop.
Little shop. You close it up. You
Yep.
take care of Mom.
Yep.
What happens once Mom's gone? Then what do you do?
Yeah, what do I do? I
Yeah,
don't know.
what'd you do?
While I was taking care of Mom, the thing that I was doing was I was doing an eBay business. I was online because I couldn't go out, and I had a garage full of stuff.
Right.
You know, so I did an eBay business. But okay, when Mom's gone, made a decision to stay here. Went down and, you know, dealt with the trust and my sister and getting the kids a place to live and all that neat stuff, and try to put all the pieces back together. And I when it came time to, I got to go back and start to do something now.
Right.
So in the antique business, it's either, you know, you go to estate sales, or, you know, you buy from somebody else and sell somebody else, or auctions. Auctions are a big part of it. So I went to and I had been doing auctions before, so I went to a government auction and I bought, this is good, this is I like this is how it all started to happen.
Okay.
I went to a government auction and I bought a container of salt lamps.
Salt lamps.
Salt lamps.
Okay.
What am I doing with all these salt lamps? I bought them because the price was right,
Okay.
and then I started doing my R&D on them, and I realized that I had COPD from the stuff that I was breathing in the Navy. And salt lamps are good for respiratory. They're a natural ionizer. All you gotta just plug them in.
Yep.
For me, this one here, this one here, this one here. They're all over the house. They're upstairs or downstairs. I still got a container of salt lamps. What am I gonna do with them? Donna, and I'll have to tell you the story about Donna too. Donna said, well, there's a holistic show in Clinton. You could take them there. I said, oh, that sounds good. Take them to the fringe people. We'll buy them. So another thing I got at the auctions was I was started to chase African stuff, drums and masks and that. So we went and set up a little, a little booth, and all the salt lamps lit up. There's a pain to plug them in and carry them.
I bet they are, and they're not light.
No, they're not.
They're not light at all.
So while we're there, I'm looking across from me, and what I realize now is that there was a woman who had an Aura camera. So to me, it looked like a computer that people would do something with and something would happen.
Right.
But when she wasn't doing the Aura camera, she would sit people in a chair and she would start grunting and waving her arms and taking a feather and making a rattle, doing all this strange stuff. So I'm like, what is going on? But she was in a sweat. Whatever she was doing, she was really into it. So at the end of the day, I said, I got to talk to you. She said, I got to talk to you. I've been looking at the Jemmy drum you have over there. I said, I've been watching you. What in the world are you doing? She says, oh, I'm a shaman. and I'm doing energy healing. I said, okay, that's cool. She says, sit down, I'm doing a special, 15 minutes for $15. I looked at her and went, that, not me. She was a nice person, so I started talking to her. She said, come on, sit down. I sat 5 minutes. I'll do a 5-minute healing for free. I was in that chair for 2 minutes and I was out of it. She just opened me wide open. I had never felt energy before. And, you know, I mean, all these little things that I'm thinking about now that was spiritual or energy, but this is palpable. This was big. This is wow.
Right.
Wow.
It was your aha
It
moment.
was my aha moment.
Nice. And it was 2.5 minutes.
And it was 2.5 minutes.
That's amazing.
And then she lives down the street. She lives 2 miles from here.
Oh, nice.
She took me through a lot of stuff with my sister. You know, there was a lot of cords to be cut, and she became my teacher. You know, I learned shaman energy work from her. I am now a shaman, and she is Pachamama and I am Paco. I've always been Paco since I was in the Navy. You know, I realized that peace has always been a part of me. And when I was in the Navy, I had a peace sign on my dog tags. I have a peace sign on my Harley tattoo. I just, you know, I live peace. When I set the booth up now, the crystal booth, I open everything up, and then that's when the energy comes out. Then, you know, you love them and put them in the box and take them, set them up, and then I charge them with a crystal ball. And the intention that's set in the booth is peace and prosperity for the planet. And in one corner, Jason's made me an Oregon pyramid with a malachite peace sign on it. So that's the cornerstone. So where am I going with this? I don't even know. So
she opened you wide up.
she opened me wide up, and now that's what I'm doing. I'm setting the conscious intention for peace and prosperity for the planet whenever I work with the stones.
Okay. All right. So you were opened up, selling salt lamps.
Right.
And African masks and drums.
Right.
She opens you up. What happens after that?
About a week later, I said, Donna, I think I'm being called to the crystals.
Oh.
You know, I just, you know, I got to do the crystals. So we went to
So
Mom.
it was because of salt lamps.
I think it was because of the energy.
Okay.
Because I started realizing there was energy in crystals. So we went to the Mum Show, which is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Right after, I don't know when it was, right after it. And up at the front of when you came in, Christina, the woman who did the show that we were at, the One Spirit Festival, she was kind of in the door, one of the first booths. So Christina, I think I'm being called to, you know, to work with the crystals. So go for it. So I walked to the back of the hall, big hall. There was a big crystal booth set up there. It's still set up there today. And I met this young man, and his name is TJ. He was 3rd generation in the stone business. And he was the first wholesale buy I did. And he wasn't in it for the energy, but he had the knowledge. He was 3rd generation, he knew about it. But if you work with stones, you're affected by the energy. So I mean, I could feel love when I was working with him. I found out that when I'm buying these crystals to resell, I'm buying them because I can feel them, and I can feel them in my heart, and I'm not buying them to make money. I'm buying them because I'm buying them for somebody that I don't even know yet.
Right.
So it just blew me away to be in a business that's not from pocket to pocket, but from heart to heart. Right. And he's still he's down in Florida now, but he was a mentor to me, and he still is. He's still somebody that I can call and ask. He's always got something to teach. Much younger, half my age. So that's how I got into the crystal business.
That's amazing. Okay, so you buy your first batch. When did LA Crystal Energy start?
It kind of started right away because I'm called to the crystals. My business is called Lighthouse Antiques, and I know that I got a lot of checks left, and I know that I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be working with the crystals. So I became Lighthouse Antiques and Crystal Energies.
Okay.
And I ran with that for a couple of years, and then I realized that, well, Lighthouse Antiques LA. A lot of people think LA means that I'm from California or something like that. That means Lighthouse Antiques. It's very simple.
Okay.
Well, that's me.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That's how it happened.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Now, You used the term when we got here earlier, and I loved it. You called yourself a foster for the crystals.
Yes, and I told you that story. It's something I learned early on that and I'll tell the story again.
Please do.
And we were in it was a celebration of life in New York, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a woman there who was a chakra reader, whatever that was. I didn't know at the time. I guess I did. I knew a little bit.
Right.
And she was just a bubbly person. She was, just so just effervescent. She was always smiling. And her name was Anne Marie. And she now went off on her own too. She's got her own business in Maryland. And I had a big piece of selenite. I don't know if there's selenite around here somewhere. Where'd it go? But anyway, it was a big flat piece of selenite. That selenite is for clearing and charging energy. Your energy, your space energy, your stone's energy. So I had it prominently displayed on my little booth, whatever it is, and Anne Marie saw it and she wanted it. And I said, I don't know if I wanted it. Well, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be selling it. So Donna at the time was she was wrapping whatever we were doing. So she took this big piece of selenite, wrapped it in bubble wrap, and then she was making ribbon out of fabric. She was ripping the fabric, tying it up, making a bow. So it was like a present. Mm-hmm. So when Anne Marie came back, it was big. I had it in two hands, and I handed it to her. She had to reach out and take it from me. And at that time, a tear came to my eye and joy came into my heart. And I realized this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm fostering these crystals until the person that they're supposed to be with comes around. And that kind of opened up, wow, this is, it took me to another step, I guess.
And that's what you taught Lloyd and Leslie. That's the gift that you gave them. Yeah. So
that's what makes it work. It's the love,
It's the love.
All you do, you love the crystals, and they put it out there. People will walk down the aisle and they'll just come into the booth and they'll just let go. They can, the crystal energy has it can open you up and it's a release that takes place. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty cool to be happy to be part of that. To be able to facilitate that.
Now, your buddy Will refers to it as an energy exchange. Exchanging
Absolutely.
of money.
Heart to heart.
Yes.
Well, okay, yeah.
And I like the way he does that because, the word money has a lot attached to it.
Right.
And he calls it an energy exchange.
Right.
And you speaking like that brought that to my mind. The energy exchange has been well for you with crystals, would you say?
I think so. I mean, it's I'm not bankrupt, but I certainly am not.
You have a lot of foster babies around here.
I like to say that I'm cash poor and I'm rock rich.
Okay.
Because I keep putting it back into it, and and then I try to focus on where it's going to go next, and the universe is kind of is guiding me.
Guiding your way.
And I'm learning from that. And then I gotta say, Donna's not here tonight. She's down in Annapolis with her daughter and grandbabies.
That was going to be my next question. Tell us, you've mentioned Donna.
Okay.
So let's hear all about her.
She's my heart partner. She's her mom lives across the street. When we were kids, 6 years old, I would throw worms at her at the bus stop. So we go back quite a way.
Just a way. Yeah.
Just a way. So when my mom passed, her mom told Donna that that I had been up here taking care of mom and that she had passed. Mm-hmm. So Donna's a person who's she's like old school. She writes letters and she writes cards and she's an artist. Mm-hmm. She's exhibited all over the world. She's a very unique person. So she writes me this beautiful card, and I said, wow, that's I felt it called to me. And then I got her a phone number from another friend who was over in Sunset Lake, and I called her up and we started doing eBay, the email, talking on email and talking on the phone. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was trying to settle the mom's estate and trying to deal with my sister in Florida and trying to make things. I was kind of busy, so we never got a chance to do anything really, but talk and get to know one another. Again, reawaken. Mm-hmm. So it was on It was on November 11th, 2008, Veterans Day. And we met for the first time face to face down at the local Starbucks. She bought me a coffee for Veterans Day. So now it's our anniversary. So, you know, things progressed, and, you know, we found out that we were supposed to be together. And, you know, it's not, you know, I mean, we're not married. We don't live in the same house. She has a house in Clinton. I have a house here. And we, you know, we go wherever we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So, she started telling everybody that, that we were reliving the 60s in our 60s. Because that's the last time we really knew anybody, was in high school in the 60s.
Uh-huh.
So that was pretty cool.
That is very cool.
So then we've done some, you know, we've done some traveling, and she's a big part of the of LA Crystal Energies. Now her mom, she's taking care of her mom, and so she hasn't been able to come out with me that much this year. But because she's an artist, and her art she's a fiber artist. She used to do museum installations and big stuff, and because of the crystals calling to her, she started working in crystals too. Now she's making fairy wands with, you know, local wood. There's something called the emerald ash borer that's destroyed all the ash trees in the area. I've taken 33 ash trees down since 2008. Starting to save the small parts of it, the the branches on the top, for her to use to create sacred ash wood to create her wands, and put crystals on and make the intention for whatever they're going to be. Also starting to make some Synergy 5 wands, and there's a lot of other art she's doing, but crystals have been incorporated in her art also now. So.
And was that because of your love?
Well, that's because, you know, we were together when I got called.
Okay.
You know, and when I became a student at Pachamama, she came with me. So she's much more, she's very deep, she's very analytical, but she's also very creative. So she's right there.
She's using both sides of the brain.
She's using both sides of the brain.
She's using both sides of the brain.
Sometimes I can't keep up with her.
That's fantastic.
But it's cool. Yeah, it is cool. It is cool. So yeah, we reconnected after many years.
That's awesome. Wow.
And there's a lot of other stories on the part. Go ahead, ask me another question.
Megan Humphrey commented that your anniversary is 11/11. She thinks that's cute.
Yes, it is. 11/11.
11/11.
You think that's a coincidence?
No.
Not at all.
She thinks that's an angel number. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those numbers pop up.
Okay, you mentioned Synergy 5. So let's go ahead and talk about that.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. I did have a question. I get lost in the crystals sometimes. You said you're a shaman.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you do any hands-on healing?
Occasionally.
Okay.
My focus is most, and Pachamama knew that when we were doing it. I took Reiki too from a husband and wife team in Woodbridge, who were my teachers, and my healing is through the stones.
Okay.
Now, when I first met, I met Will, and it was someplace in Phoenixville. It was at a show, Manifest Your Destiny, and his booth happened to be next to mine, and we started talking. You know, veteran to veteran, we had that thing in common, and he would be a person I could talk to, you know, and share. And I'm not shy about my recovery, because people who come into the booth need to know that. They need to come to me. They need to know they can come to me. You know. But there was a lull or something, and I said to him, "Man, I just got a KISS." And KISS is an acronym for Keep It Simple Stupid. And he said, "Oh no."
I could see him saying it.
Yeah. I said, well, "What do you mean?" "Keep it simple, sweetheart. Turn those words around." You know, I mean, when you hang with Will, you're learning stuff all the time.
All the time. I so agree with that. He's such a cool guy. Oh my God.
And the dolphin energy that he moves around. Every time he comes to a show, he'll put, you know, sometime during the time when we're talking, he'll take one hand and put it on my heart, and the other hand on my back of my heart, and just start running energy. And it's amazing. It's totally amazing. But you know, this was the first time I think I met him, and I said, "Man, I wish I was a healer, like, you know," because I was fairly new into the thing, and I was just understanding crystals and trying to, And I said, I wish I was a healer like you. He says, oh, no, you are. People come in and they need a stone. What do you do? So he, he's a guide. He's not just Will. He's a teacher. He's a guide. He's a mentor. So I owe a lot to that man.
Fantastic.
I owe a lot to him.
Okay, all right. Now we can talk about Synergy 5.
Okay.
All right.
And Synergy 5 is what is my mission, and I found that, and it's and I'll read it to you. I'll give you one of these cards, but Synergy 5, it tells you Andera monatomic crystal, shungite, herkimer diamond, petalite, and phenakite. In Synergy, these 5 crystals will aid in the planet's ascension while assisting our individual 5D experience. The Synergy creates a vortex of healing energy that harmonizes with our bioenergetic frequency on a multi-dimensional level. When you work with Synergy 5, there's a vortex of energy that's created in your hands. You can actually feel the energy start to move. Now, this, I take no credit in. My prayers are to be an open channel all the time. But the Andera monatomic crystal looks like a piece of glass. People were asking me, and maybe this is early on. I don't think I had 5 years in. Well, probably not. And they, what's this Andera monatomic crystal? Can you get any? And I was saying, well, it's slide glass. What am I going to do with that? Well, I wanted to keep my provenance pure. I wanted to know where it came out of the ground. How it was sourced, how it got to me, and how it's going to get to you. So I hid from it for about a year. And then there's a woman here who had a little shop, and she's Nancy Lucas. She's a crystal healer. She's a reader at One Spirit also. And she put a Merlin purple Andera in my hand, and I realized it wasn't glass. It was a very high energy stone crystal. And what it is it's monatomic. It's a monatomic glass crystal. What monatomic means is that there's only one electron in the atom. So if there's supposed to be 50 electrons in this atom, in the atom that's creating this, there's only one here, and there's 49 in another dimension. So it's constantly going back and forth. And the reason it looks like glass is because what glass is like a Coke bottle is created by heat, silicon created by heat. Obsidian is volcanic glass created by heat. Andera monatomic crystal was created by the heat of 2 dimensions touching prior to Lemuria. Comes from California, Mount Shasta. Anderans were the Anderans were the teacher, the guru, the pre-society for the Lemurians. They are still with us. There was a temple in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It was called the Andera Temple of Light back in the time of Lemuria. So there's think Mount Shasta. Think we're multi-dimensional. There was a woman out in the mountain there, had 1,200 acres of land, and her name was Lady Nellie. Lady Nellie was a Irish Chickasaw medicine woman, and her modality was herbs. In the early 90s, she was curing AIDS. She was curing people with AIDS. Long story short, is they believe the reason why it was working was because the soil that it was, the soil that her herbs were growing was monatomic. And I've got a Jarvis somewhere, but it's monatomic gold. Have you ever heard of Ormus?
No.
Ormus is an alchemy that's a liquid that's supposed to aid you in your spiritual advancements, so we say. And the reason for that is because monatomic gold looks like a beige talcum powder. Tests chemically for gold, but it doesn't have the density of gold. So the soil is full of this, and the first real Andera they found was this surface stuff, which would be elders. These were called elders, and these were on the surface caked in mud, just looked like a mud ball. So we started finding these, and then there was a tremor, and the side of the hill opened, and the colored stuff started coming out. Now, where I get there again, we go back to provenance. Provenance is got to be pure in this, because there's a lot of the best thing that I can say for a person to buy crystals is to buy them from someone they trust, someone they know is going to source the crystals ethically and be also do that due diligence of the provenance for them. So there's a lot out there. You go on the internet, you can find Andera monatomic crystal, and it's going to be slag glass.
Gotcha.
So this is, there's only a couple places that, you know, it comes from that one particular property, and there's only a couple of people who are of course, have the source of it right now. But the fellow that I get mine from is he met Lady Nellie in the late '80s at a music festival, and he was like a traveler. He was a miner. He was an artifact finder. He was an antique hunter, and he just lived he traveled. So he bumped into her. He was playing a guitar. He bumped into her music festival, and she asked him to come to the property and to dig. So he is. Lady Nellie is gone. She's not with us anymore, and he takes these crystals, and we talked about provenance and love before. Okay, so like Melody said, love is in the earth. The Anderas are coming out of the earth. You're working with an Andera you're working with an Andera being when you're working with a monatomic crystal. But when for these little kits, there's a little Synergy 5 kit in that little plastic case over there. So I asked him to shape. I learned that he does shaping. What he does is he shapes this crystal. This is an Andera crystal, and he takes he naps this into the shape it is. Napping is like an arrowhead.
Okay.
That's how prehistoric indigenous people made their arrowheads, was they nap them. And napping works with a certain material, and it's pressure. It's not banging. It's a pressure to make it fracture. So he hand naps these in ritual with an elk horn to put the pressure on, and a pounding rod to move the elk horn. And he's actually emulated a Paleo era tool, early tool. And there's some around here. He sends them to me once he's found all over the country. So this is a common tool, but when you see it as just a rock, you would never realize it was a rock until you have that eye. You can say, oh, well, that's been napped to form this.
Okay.
Just like you would see like how an arrowhead's been napped. So he has put his love into this, and he has done a ritual, and he passes it on to me. And I in turn put my love and my energy into it, and then I'll put it into a Synergy 5 kit. Now, the Synergy 5, where can I go from here? I'll interject this and we'll go back. The movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and the obsession the man had with the Devil's Tower, that has when the Synergy 5 came to me, that's kind of like what happens to me. So there's Anderas all over the place in here.
Okay.
There's shungite from Russia all over the place in here. There's Herkimer diamonds from Herkimer, New York, all over. There's petalite from Brazil. There's phenakite. And I've been just acquiring all these. That's when I said put the back into it. So that's what we're, because this is my mission. I realize it's my mission. So I just keep bringing more and more together because it's needed. I know it's needed now. The Anderas are here to open us up to receive more light and to release any blockages we may have on our path, be it mental, physical, or spiritual. So anyway, I got an Andera, and it was a Merlin purple, and it wasn't wasn't from him yet. It was somebody else. It was just a chunk of glass, it looked like a piece of slag glass. And then I met a guy in at one of these shows who was the curator for the Moscow Mineral Museum, and he had this phenakite. It was from Russia, and it was a big old piece of phenakite. And Donna and whatever he had, we got. It was just because it's phenakite is the highest vibrating stone on the planet. It will actually melt into ice.
Oh, wow.
So I have this purple Andera, and I have this big old Russian phenakite. And I was in a show in Pennsylvania, and a young woman comes up to me, and she just looks up at me and she says, I'm a fairy queen, and it feels like I have a chastity belt around my head and I can't get any energy in or out. I said, oh, okay, what am I going to do? I don't know. So I put the Andera in one hand, and I put the phenakite in the other, and I just held energy with her. And in 10 minutes, she was released from the blockage. Whoa! You know, magic just happened. She started calling me Merlin. Okay, so Saint Germain, Merlin, all that, this all starts to fall into place. She actually made me a little. She was making fairy houses at the time. She made a little Merlin house for me. You know, just thank you.
Uh-huh.
So I said, you know, something happened here. Something special happened here, but I still wasn't sure what it was. Later on in that year, we were in another show, and it was in a carriage barn. It was a Karma Fest, and it was damp, and it was really lousy out. And we were inside. There was people outside in tents, and there was a person outside outside the building that I was in tent with her table, and her, you know, she was doing healing. She came in, and she said, "Oh man, she's a Reiki master, you know, Reiki teacher, Reiki, and she's doing healings out there when somebody will come into her tent." But she says, I got a heel spur or something. I can't stand up. So I hope she's watching. So I did the same thing with her, and her pain was relieved. One end to the other end. Something's going on here. These crystals know where to go with their energy.
Right.
So I started paying attention. You know, which all you have to do. Bill Donahue, one of my first teachers, early teacher, said the signs are always there. All you have to do is pay attention to them. So I started paying attention, and I realized that I'm supposed to put a set of crystals together, and it's not just going to be the two, but it's going to be the two. They're kind of the powerhouse. You know, the Andera
Right.
is a power, is the direction, and the phenakite is the power. But what else comes? So the next thing that came was Herkimer Diamond. Why Herkimer Diamond? Herkimer Diamond is Herkimer, New York. Herkimer Diamond is a community stone. So what the Herkimer is doing is it's bringing this kit, the stones, how many there are going to be, there's going to be 5, it's bringing them into community to work together. It also, when you work with this Energy 5, it brings in your angels, your guides, and your soul family to work with you. Of course it does. Still something else to go.
I know, there's more.
Okay. Petalite. Petalite is from Brazil. The petalite and the phenakite I'm using now is Brazilian phenakite. It comes from, I met a miner. He comes up here 3 or 4 times a year, and he brings all this stuff in. And I get the petalite from him, and I get the phenakite from him. So we talked about provenance before. So I know where this is coming from. It's not just, I'm not all going onto the internet and buying something.
Right.
So why petalite? Petalite, we brought in our angels and our guides and our soul family with the Herkimer, and petalite is angelic connection. So when you put the petalite in there, it's ensuring that whoever's working with the Synergy 5 is working with love and compassion while they're doing it. So we have 4 stones now.
Okay.
And I feel there's got to be more. And I was in the place where I started, where I met Pachamama, and I'm still in that same corner today. I'll be there next week in the same corner.
Okay.
I'm in that corner, and this woman comes into the booth, and she's a little different. She's an angel, and you know, she's just walking around here on Earth, you know, and her energy was, you know. So I just started telling her about what I was doing, and I said, I don't know what to do. I think I'm supposed to. What's the next one going to be? It's going to be Shungite, or it's going to be something I can't even remember what else. She looked at me. She said, Shungite. I said, no, of course Shungite. What is Shungite? Shungite is another stone that's working on a quantum level, where the Andera is monatomic. The Shungite is 98%, the crystal Shungite is 98% carbon. The carbon molecule is a fullerene. They call Shungite the Wonderstone. Heals whatever ails you.
Whatever ails you.
So, okay, there's 5 stones. They're all together. So what am I going to, I didn't know where to go with them. What am I supposed to do with them next? So I started to, I sent 3 sets out to different people that I thought were, you know, would give it a, I think it's called beta testing, that they would put it through, you know. One of them was up here in Margaret Mary, who's my, she's a mentor also, mentor and alchemist. And Joni's White Light Healing over here. She's a channel and a guide. And then Carolyn down in Texas, who's a time looper. And I had them just sit with it, and you know, what they were doing was they were validating everything that I thought that they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty big, and in
Yeah,
fact,
that's
and
huge.
the final one was, I'll always remember, I was down at the Honda dealer in Clinton waiting for service, and Carolyn called up. She had received her package. It was on the desk a couple days, and she was just taking it out. She wanted to tell me what was going on when she opened it up. What she was feeling there, I was feeling here in Clinton in the Honda dealer. I said, wow, this is pretty important stuff. You know, I know I have people who are practitioners who do long distance, but this was the first time, just like when Pachamama opened me up to energy, that I could feel the energy for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time that I could feel that energy in a long distance. I didn't have to be right next to somebody.
Right.
You know, it was from 1,500 to 3,000 miles away. So I started, you know, just putting them together, and you know, maybe working. I don't know why, but somebody would come in and we'd try working with it. And the people who were, all kinds of different stuff was happening. Well, people who couldn't speak when they did it. People saw things when they did it. A lot of people kept telling me that when they hold the Synergy 5, and that's all I was doing, I was putting it in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
I was putting it a certain way, but I didn't realize that then. I would put it in their hands, and they would say there, you know, I'm seeing the double helix of the DNA molecule in light. I'm doing this. Spinning in the infinity sign. So, okay. So I started, I progressed to putting them to a kit like this, and to be able to market them.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to put them together intuitively before the show. And when I felt it was time to work with somebody, I would pick out a set of crystals, and 95% of the time it was the same set that somebody was looking at. So I know that, you know, I was being guided to, you know, put them together, and then guided to bring them out, and then guided to start working with them. And I started noticing that when we would do shows, it would get very busy,
Mm-hmm.
because the crystal brings people come in, and it just, people wait in line to pay, and some of these shows are just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
How you know how much the crystals are loved. And I noticed when it was time for me to start working crystals, the booth would empty, and I would get like 5 minutes. I would work with the person, and then the booth would fill up again. I said, "There's something going on here. There's something really going on here." So then when I do an activation, the activation is basically is I put the crystals in a certain order in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And then with that wand, I'll start them to spin, and then I'll bring it into an infinity pattern, and it'll create these major alignments. When I first thought, and I first started just doing it by holding energy with the hands, just moving energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was still under the impression that energy was created by the Synergy 5 and was going where it was needed to go. Another angel comes into my life down in Virginia Beach. Got a big spot. There's 3 different spaces, a lot of tables, a lot of stuff, and because there wasn't a lot of people there, so she gave us some extra
Right,
space.
spread it out a bit.
So I had a whole bunch of chakra stuff over there, and I looked over. It's kind of not where the booth is, and I looked over, and there was this big black man just looking at the wands, the chakra wands.
Mm-hmm.
It must have been 6'8". I said, wow, what's he doing over there? So I walked over, and I said hello, and he had a chakra necklace on. It was the caddis, the double helix for the medical symbol.
Yeah.
So I said, well, this guy's got something going on. It turns out that he was a motivational speaker and a life coach. Beautiful man. So I figured, well, I'm supposed to be working on Synergy 5 with him. So I brought him over. I put them in his hands, and as you know, when we do it, we're usually standing up, and I'm holding energy, you're holding the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started to spin it, and I don't think I was using a wand then, I just started to move it like that, and he started to tone. This beautiful baritone started coming out of his heart, and I just, it just opened me wide up. And as I was activating the Synergy 5 to him, he was activating me, and it was just like, it was one of those miracle moments. So at the end of it, I asked him, I said, what were you doing? I mean, you were just going right to my heart with that toning. So I was chanting a Tibetan Buddhist prayer. Oh man, his name is Mr. Hart. His website is Art of the Heart.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful person. I know he's an angel. I know another angel. But he told me that he told me what was going on.
Uh-huh.
He says, what's going on here is that the Synergy 5 and you and I are creating alignment between the higher self and each energy center. That's where the release is taking place, because there's the release, any blockages on your path, be it mental, physical, or spiritual,
Right.
you're opening up wherever that blockage is and you're releasing it.
There we go.
So it's it's a chakra balancer too. Very cool stuff.
Yeah. And how long? I mean, I think you said 3 years ago you started with Synergy 5.
Maybe 4.
Maybe 4?
It was
Okay.
about a year and a half. I was just trying to
You're
figure it
figuring
out.
things out. Okay.
You know?
So, do you offer classes with Synergy 5?
Yes, a matter of fact, we're doing. I plan on this year. We're doing Synergy 5 workshops.
Excellent.
And what it is something that I plan on doing more of and less of the big shows, because I think the time is needed now. I'm finding that more and more people are drawn to it. This past mum show, it was a little bit light on attendance, but it afforded me to work with more practitioners.
Okay.
So and I was I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm going to be doing it at Etherical Connections with Lloyd and Leslie in I think December.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't see what the date is, but
December.
it's December.
And you have one scheduled here in New Jersey.
One here in
right?
New Jersey at Guy's Gifts in Washington, and that is also in December.
Okay.
And then at the Violet Flame in Dublin, Dublin, Pennsylvania in January.
Excellent. And we're going to work together
Absolutely.
and get a date for Peter to come down to Journeys in York. So,
And then I'm doing Connecticut too. I'm going to bring him up to Connecticut. I've been in touch with a woman up here. Just opened up again, the signs are always out there. All you have to do is be open to them.
Mhm.
So there's this other guy in the rock business, and his name is Sean. And he's a little hippie dude. Travels around in a camper, and the name of he is Peace, Love, and Rocks.
Nice.
And he sets up these grids. He sets up this magnificent. He does music festivals. He just does beautiful stuff. So you know how on Facebook they say, well, such and such, your friend, is his birthday today. So it's Sean's birthday. I write him a little thing, happy birthday, you rock or whatever. He writes me back, thanks. He says, hey, listen, he says, I'm not going to be I'm able to come up to Connecticut. I'm doing something else. You think you could work with my friend? So, yeah, sure. And I said, thank you for the birthday present. So she reaches out to me. The name of her business is 5 Elements Healing Center. 5 Elements, Synergy 5. Am I supposed to be going there or what? She's having a grand opening this weekend, I think.
Oh, wow.
So we had to spend a long time on the phone, and it's probably about the same as going down by you guys. So it's in my ballpark. I can, like, 3 hours is probably worthwhile, because I'm not. When I do a show, it becomes exhausting because there's so much physical work involved,
Yes.
and there's so much exchange of energy that I don't travel at night anymore.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to bringing the energy up there.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Do you do any sales online? Do you still sell through eBay?
Thank you for asking.
Of course.
People have asked me that for a while, and it's been my opinion. Remember we talked about energy exchange?
Yes.
And right now, any Synergy 5 comes directly from me. I want to activate you to that particular set. I don't want to sell that online. It's going to, whatever the price is, and,
Right.
and that kind of stuff. So that's definitely not something I could sell online. But I feel the same with stones. How am I going to sell a stone when I'm picking the stone, and I know I can happen.
Right.
But when I'm going for the stone, I'm going for the energy of the stone, and I'm picking it for somebody. I don't know who it is yet. So I'm looking for that.
Right.
And I don't think I can find. I don't want to be an order taker.
Gotcha.
That's what Margaret Mary's said. That she explained exactly. I don't want to be taking orders and filling out eBay stuff. I want to be.
So what's
Mr.
your plan?
Hart, what I do is not a business. It's a spiritually conscious commercialism.
Spiritually conscious commercialism.
So there is business involved,
Yeah.
but it is in the heart. It's not in the pocket.
I love that. So what happens when you're doing more workshops and not as many shows?
I plan on. I don't know. That's what's been holding me back.
Okay.
And I thought, a couple of years ago, I was going back and forth with Will. Because there's so many people have a need for stones.
Mm-hmm.
But then Lloyd and Leslie, people are picking it up.
What about them coming to you here, setting up a personal viewing or something?
Well, that can be done, and that's it's going to happen. What I do now is I do by appointment out of here,
Okay.
and most of the appointments are for Synergy 5 activation.
Okay.
But I do have regular customers that come here, and we'll go out in the garage. I'll set up a table, take the stuff out of the van. So I need to. I shouldn't have all this in here. There should be just us in here. That's to be out in the garage. That'll take place soon.
Right.
So that's what it'll be. It'll be mainly wholesale and people who will come here,
Okay.
and then maybe a couple of shows, but mostly it's going to be the workshops to get the Synergy 5 out there and to get the
Perfect.
Euphoria light out there.
That's exciting.
Euphoria light is a big thing right now. What are we on time?
We're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
But what I want to ask you, do you have any words of wisdom? We have a lot of new people coming to our page and joining us. They're new to the whole awakening spiritual journey. Do you have any words of wisdom for them? Because it's not easy. It's definitely not an easy journey, digging into yourself and dealing with the blockages that you have and the emotional baggage that you carry and healing. What advice could you give them? What words of wisdom help get you through?
That's good. To stay in your heart. Listen to your gut. We'll just talk about crystal shopping. And it's that relates to everything else. When you go into a store, you're looking for a crystal. You want to pay attention to how you feel. Whether you get a particular crystal, you can't take your eyes off of it. Something when you pick up, maybe it'll buzz a little bit, or maybe it'll feel warm to you, or the hair on the back of your neck will stick up. There'll be a little sign. And what you're doing is you're using your shaman senses at that time. It's coming from the heart and from the gut. Pay attention to that. Turn off the TV.
Listen. Be
Signs are
aware.
here. All you gotta do is be observant.
All right.
And you'll know the right person. When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
True.
And that's
very, very true.
And there's a lot of students coming in now, and that's what we've been training for. That's why we're here.
Absolutely.
That's why we're here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
I look very forward to bringing you down to Journeys.
Me too.
And spreading your Synergy 5 around. That's fantastic. Jen, do we have
Thank you.
anything?
Megan was asking if you can do the Synergy 5, get kits or the activation remotely, or is that something that you're
Where is she
strictly
from?
doing,
Do you know?
Baltimore, the Baltimore area.
So you could come to York.
She can
Yeah,
come
when
to
you said
she can come to York.
Journeys, she said yay. So
Yeah.
And
So I
then
think she would do that.
Mary's going to do something too. Mary wants me to do something, and the real answer to that is I have done it, and it's been sitting right here on this couch. One of the first workshops I did was in Moscow, Pennsylvania, and Nora, she's somebody who's been walking the walk for many years, and she's very close to my heart, even though I haven't talked to her for a while. We met at shows again, and she's done some certain stuff with me, and she called me up and or she reached out. She says, I'm doing a class on cranial temple activation. I think you should come. So, well, yeah, I guess so. What is it all about? I know it must have something to do with the Synergy 5. What it is cranial temple activation. You work with the client, and you actually you take the client's light body out. You move the energy of the light in an infinity pattern, charge it, put it back in, and light up all the chakras along the spine.
Wow.
Synergy 5.
Yeah.
The infinity. It just all came together. It's amazing. And while I was there, I met this guy, Buster Timming, who I just saw this weekend. He came down to see me, and he was a young guy, he's real tall, and he's I don't know, he's magic. He's kind of, so I did a Synergy 5 with him, and after the activation, he took the Synergy 5 and he put it in between his fingers, and he started doing Tai Chi with it. Filled the whole room up with energy. Just because the energy that's created it's a spin. You
Right.
feel it, and then when it moves into that infinity pattern is where the alignments take place. And when you start moving that along with what it's doing, it just becomes magical. Okay, and Nora walks in spirit. She's in Canada, and she came down to Moscow. She's a friend of the Nora there, and she was called to the Yanderas and to the Synergy 5. So what we did was I sent it up to her, and then on the phone we did the activation. I talked her through whatever. some people you don't have to talk to over there.
So it
Well,
can be done.
It can be done. Yeah, it can be done.
Okay.
And I was talking to Nora on the phone right here, and she gave. Well, the first alignment is between your higher self and your energy centers. The second alignment that takes place when the energy starts to spin is it brings all your multidimensional aspects into a positive alignment. So we break the linear time frame and we just bring it together.
Oh, wow.
The third one, I'm sitting here just where you are, and Nora's sitting up there, wherever she's at. She's, that's nothing. She says, what you're doing right now with that Synergy 5, she says, you're bringing the crystal grid of the planet in alignment through your personal energy grid and the energy grid of the cosmos. So when you're done with that spin, the synergy, we're doing the infinity.
Mm-hmm.
The infinity looks like this, and it's actually, you're at the center of it, and it's the toroidal field all the way around you. So you're holding it, the energy's coming up through your heart, out your crown, back around, and down into the ground, and coming up to the grid again. So you're in the middle of a donut of energy. I love energy.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It is.
All right.
Cool beans.
Yeah, very much so. And you're going to be, I forgot to ask about shows you're going to be at soon. You're going to be at...
Are we still talking?
We are still talking. You're going to be at... Yeah, we're doing a long one. You're going to be at Spirit of Oneness.
Okay, you're going to be, next weekend, going to be at the One Spirit Festival in Clinton, New Jersey. Okay. And then the following weekend, the first weekend of October, it's always at the Spirit of Oneness in Harrisburg.
Yes.
And then, let me look at the calendar just to be sure.
Okay.
And then on the 13th of October will be Illuminate Boston. The 20th will be Illuminate Frederick in Frederick, Maryland.
Nice. That'd be a good one for you, Megan.
The 27th is Donna's daughter's getting married, so we're going to be at a wedding in Virginia Beach.
Okay. Give you the weekend off.
And then the 3rd is going to be Illuminate Annapolis.
Ah.
3rd of November, Illuminate Annapolis. The 10th is going to be a Mind, Body, Spirit show up here in North Jersey. And then after that, it looks like it's Gettysburg on the 1st of December, and then it's workshops throughout whenever we can put them together.
All right. Great. That's fantastic. So,
thank you.
You're very welcome. You can, you have a website?
I have a website, www.synergy5.info.
And Peter also has a Facebook page. Don't flood them too quickly with a bunch of friend requests.
And that's something I've been remiss in doing, and I'm starting to just change everything around. I had like a epiphany this weekend. I think it had something to do with the rose oil that Timmy made for me. Also Timmy. But I used to, when I got a friend request, if I didn't know you one-on-one, I didn't reply. Because it's my personal page. I know I've got to do one in LA. I know I have a business page. I just don't know where it's at.
Oh, okay.
So, but I have to start using that more, because there's people out there that we have 25 friends, mutual friends. So there's no reason I shouldn't be. And the guy who, Gary, the guy, the miner for the 4 Light, when I first started talking to him, I just,
I do.
He says, these are your people. You're speaking to them.
Yes.
So, and it's starting to come to me now, and then that's why, I thank you for, you're bringing me up to speed a little bit more, because this will kind of help me validate that what I'm thinking to do. I think I should be doing.
I think you should. I think you should. And you are a walking encyclopedia of knowledge about crystals. And you could simply do lives about crystals.
Right.
You could do a whole live about each different type. More and more people are thriving for the information.
Right.
And you are someone that truly, just being in your presence, you know that you come from the heart, you work from the heart, and your whole goal is to help people and to help them heal.
Exactly.
So there's no denying that. I get goosebumps just saying it. So you doing lives, forget about it. People are going to love it. They're going to eat it up.
Well, Gary's been telling me this. I've known him since February, and it's very interesting, dude, the stuff he's doing.
See, you're going to introduce us to a lot of other people that we're going to get on this show as well.
Absolutely.
We'd love to.
He's telling me to do it. Then I see Lloyd doing it. And I said, damn, Lloyd, you came across good.
Yeah.
And then you start doing it, and I don't really know you, but, that thing in York that when we went to the Mexican dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and then Lloyd said something to you that you should have me on it. Why
Yes.
did she want me? You know.
Absolutely.
But then I see that you're doing stuff, and then I see Will on there. I said, wow. I said, yeah, okay. They're out there. The signs are there. I'm
We're
paying
here.
attention. I'm paying
Join
attention.
in. This has been great.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
thank
cool.
you so much again for having us in your home. It's a beautiful home, and I look forward to seeing you grow and evolve on Facebook.
Thank you. Thank you. Facebook Live, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a great weekend, and don't forget you're awesome.
Peace.
Peace. Jen has to get all the crystals off first so she can get up.
I take your word that it worked. How long did we went over? Did I talk too much? I mean, I'm very dry. I need a drink.
We're still on. Don't worry about it.
We're still on?